So for this, let me actually sign out first so that I can look the right way, and let me just sort of hide the bookmarks bar. All right, so for this, once you get onto Desmos, one of the first things you'll want to do is go ahead and log in, and luckily you can sign in with your Google account. It'll pop up a little window to just sort of be like, oh, what account do you want to sign in with? And I would encourage you to do the your school account. And then after that, what I would suggest doing is where it has the title untitled graph, click on that and then rename it to something like Kepler's third law tool, or something along those lines, or maybe even to help keep it organized, if you're also using this for other class, you could do physics dash and then Kepler's third law tool, so then it'll be easier for you to access. And when you click the 3 bars, it'll sort of show you all of your graphs you have in your bank. So to start us off, what we want to do is we want to sort of express our base equation. So we want to make some notes and sort of organize this so then it's easy for us to use. So what we're going to do is when we click on the plus, we have the option to add a note. And so we're going to sort of add a note explaining that this is the base equation. And so what we'll do is now we'll do the base equation, which is a to the third equals kt, and that's a capital T, and then shift 6 to get the caret and sort of get you the exponent, and then squared, so the number 2. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add a slider to all. Now, one of the things we'll want to do is we might want to solve for any one of these pieces. So what we'll do is we'll click down on line 6 and we'll sort of add a new folder. And so we'll choose one of these to solve for at first. So we'll say solve for A. So we're going to create some stuff to solve for A. Now, before we do that, we want to sort of spend some time a little bit manipulating our equation so then we can solve for A. So what I'll do is I'll switch to here. And so when we look at this equation, we have a cubed equals kt squared. And so mathematically, we have the third power for A. And so if we want to solve for A, what we'll need to do is take the third root of both sides to sort of cancel out that cubed. So when we do that, we're left with A equals the third root of kt squared. Now, since we have this, we can go back to our other thing, our Desmos that we're using, and we can go ahead and sort of type that in. So we type in A, or no, we don't actually necessarily need to type in A. What we need to do is we need to click on the keyboard down here, and then go to, oh, this is a little bit low. And then we need to go to functions over here, and then click on miscellaneous, and we want the n with the square root because that sort of says nth root. So we'll write third root of kt and then squared. And so if we had certain k or t values that we could plug in here, we'd be able to plug those in here, and then we just sort of open up this folder, and that'll sort of show us what it would be when we solve for A. So what we want to do now is just sort of hit the down arrow, go to line 8, and we'll want to make another folder. So we'll add an expression and we'll do folder, and this one maybe we want to solve for k. So we'll write solve for k, and so we'll hit enter, and now we'll go back to our whiteboard, and we'll sort of spend a moment solving our equation for k. So we'll start back up again with our base equation, which is a cubed equals kt squared. So what we want to do is we want to isolate our k. And so to do that, we would need to divide both sides by t squared. So we're left with a cubed over t squared equals k. And so this would be our answer for solving for k. So we'd want to write in a cubed over t squared. So when we swap back over to our Desmos, we can sort of type that. So we have a, and then we'll hit Shift 6 to get the caret and the exponent into the third, and then we'll hit the slash under the question mark. So then we get the division, and then we'll do t with a shift, and then we'll do the caret, and then the squared again. So that's what we get there. And so we have that to solve for k. So if we had an a and a t, we could then do that to solve for k. And now let's do another folder to solve for our last thing, which is solve for t. So we want to solve for t, and so we'll go back to our whiteboard, and we'll sort of do the algebra necessary to solve for t. So let's rewrite our equation. So we have a cubed equals k t squared. And so first things first is we're going to want to divide both sides by k. Divide by k. So we get a cubed over k equals t squared. And then similarly to the first problem, we'll want to take the square roots of both sides to cancel out the t squared. So we end up with, I'm going to swap the sides, t equals the square root of a cubed over k. And so now that we have that, we can go back to our calculator, and we can sort of type that in. So we have square root. So to do square root on Desmos, you can type in SQRT, or if you're feeling it, you can also click the square root button over here. And so we do a caret 3, and then we'll do 1 press to the left to sort of get out of the exponent. We'll do the division, and then we'll do k. So we have our 3 things to sort of solve for a, k, and t. And so what I'll do now is I'll click save, so then we have that, and now we can basically, if we have a problem where we need to use this equation, we can plug in any of our knowns, and sort of as long as we know what we're looking for, we can just sort of open up a folder and have it tell us what the answer is for those particular things. Now, for some of them, they actually sort of have t, you might need to solve for t squared, or also a cubed, so we can even write that here. And we can, if we want to organize it even further, we can add a folder. And so we can just sort of hide things. So t squared, and we'll move line 12 into there. And then we'll add another folder. I'll drag it down here, and we'll put a squared in there, and we'll say a cubed. So this way, as long as we know at least 2 of them, we can then solve for some of the other parts. So like say if we have a problem where we need to solve for a, we can solve for a, and then we can plug in a here, because we can actually copy the stuff there to solve it. So now let me pause the recording. So to use this in an example, say we want to solve for k of the Earth. So in this is sort of the tool we'll end up using, or the worksheet that we'll be working through, where we have these two tables you'll want to fill in with the data where it's sort of grayed out, and sort of get the data in there. So if we go over to our third law tool, so right here, we have the period of the moon, which is 0.0748 years is the period. So we'll sort of do that for our t. So we'll do that, bam, 0.074. And so we'll go back here. We'll also copy our a, which is in astronomical units, which is not necessarily the same as kilometers. It's the distance between the sun and the Earth is 1 AU. And so the distance between the sun and the moon or the moon and the Earth is 0.0257 AU. And so when we do that, we plug that in and we get our K. So when we look at it, this is our K value over here. So we have 0.00003, and it goes quite a distance on to solve for our K. And so when we plug that in, we copy that and we can just sort of paste over here, and bam, we got our answer. Now, for our orbits, one of the things that's sort of consistent is the orbits. So everything orbiting the Earth will have the same K value. So the moon, ISS, and any geostationary orbits are going to have the same K value in each case. So we can use that to then further solve some of our information, like with the geostationary orbit, where we don't necessarily know the distance that goes on there. So we can actually utilize this K value and this T. So if we go back over, so the K value we'll paste in, so Control V, we'll paste that in, and then for our T value, which we'll copy this, we'll plug this in here. And so when we do that, that actually gives us our A value, which is this. So we can actually copy that and paste it in over here. Ooh. I think I copied too much. Copy. Bam. So we got that, and then we can just use our other tools to sort of solve for the T squared or the A cubed, which makes our life easier. So that's pretty much what we have to do here. And that's sort of how we use this tool, and you get to sort of fill in the blanks. And so the main goal is to just sort of figure out what do you need to solve for and fill in the important information for this tool.